Happy St. Patrick's Day from us here at the spot. We took a little hiatus for a few weeks. We had some technical issues and took some personal time, but we're back on a roll. I think we got some good guests lined up, and I'm psyched. What about you, Vinny? Are you psyched?
I'm psyched, except I just noticed we're not wearing green other than Warner. Happy St. Patty's Day, but fuck the green. Apparently.
I'm going to wear orange.
Oh, you
on St.
Protestant
Patty's Day.
motherfucker. Huh? You deserve to be stoned at the stake for wearing orange.
Is that what they did in the 1600s? I don't think so.
I don't think so. They probably would just, cut your throat and call it a day.
Put a wig on you. But for episode number 11 or 12, we don't really know how we're going to swing it yet.
11/12, 12/11.
We got the smartest man to ever graduate from RIT, Ryan Warner.
Wow, that's a hell of a statement right there. Smartest man ever. Wow. I feel honored to be in your presence right now.
Well,
He actually killed a tiger once.
With his teeth.
First of all, the tiger thing's true. The smartest man thing, not so true. But I went to RIT for physics. Big mistake. I'll clarify that later on. I'm just really thrilled that you guys think I'm interesting enough to be on this.
Hell yeah, man. We grew up together, but we really became friends after high school when we worked for the city together, and that was a lot of fun, man. We had a lot of good conversations. So
the thing with me is I've never science was like the one subject I was weak in, so I try and strengthen it. Want to hear your perspective on things. And another fun fact: we lived behind each other for literally our entire lives. So yeah,
all three of us
literally
live on
just
three consecutive
I
streets.
go over my fence. I'm in his backyard. He climbs my fence for whatever reason. He's in my backyard. Pretty close.
And my grandma lives next to him.
Although R.I.P. to the swing set that was back there. That thing was sweet.
Yeah, it was. We had to get rid of it to make room for more garden stuff.
As usual,
garden's
Dennis loving
important.
the gardening.
Dennis the Menace, man. He's a good dude.
All about the tomatoes. He's crazy with the tomatoes.
Does he still use it as a garden back there?
He didn't last summer. He had issues with health and family type stuff, but he'll probably be back at it this summer. He doesn't give up too easily.
Nice. Yeah, no, my dad, anytime he's like, yeah, there's a branch over. I'm going to go talk to Dennis if I can cut this down. Never a problem. Goes and immediately just, my dad relishes in that, though, going up there with a chainsaw.
Well, that says a lot about Dennis if there's never been a problem with your dad.
No.
Nah. I love Mr. Mercedes. Always got to take a shot at him when I can, even though I don't think he really probably even watches this.
No, you kidding me? He'd want to come on and just rip you for an hour. That's all he would do.
I would be willing to have him on if that got us some viewership, which it probably would, because he knows everybody.
Yeah, he does know everybody. He knows way more people than I do. But
so yeah, RIT, man.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It won nerdiest school in America by a landslide. If that is any answer, by a landslide.
When I went for my visit to RIT, well, we actually had the homecoming high school football party the night before.
Oh God!
So I didn't go to bed till 5 in the morning. My mom picked me up, I drove home at 8 in the morning, which probably shouldn't have. My mom drove us to RIT. Was extremely hungover the whole day. There were kids having that Nerf war. It was that weekend. So literally, I'm walking around campus with my mom and some professors.
That's like just the look of shame right
there. There's
there.
just dozens of kids running around on campus shooting each other with dart guns, like Nerf guns. And what was it? Aliens or
humans versus
zombies. That's what it was.
I got one thing to say about that. One of my really good friends, Garner, plays it, loves it. He was killing it. It's really cool. They can get like almost 1,000 students involved in this activity for an entire week.
That is
it's the most annoying thing in the entire world. Because it usually happens right around class picking week for me, which is really kind of annoying because I wasn't like one of the smarter kids, so I didn't get first pick in classes. I was just sitting there thinking, oh man, I probably won't get any good electives this time around. Wasn't worried about my main courses though, because there's like 30 students in physics, so everyone's all in the same section anyways.
Right.
They wouldn't like leave a student behind because they didn't get in. But yeah, no, that was hands down the most annoying thing that's ever like I almost got tackled on my way to class.
So wait, explain to me this then. How does this game people can just start shooting up in Nerf guns like randomly? How does this go?
So
I was gonna say, how does
they
this work?
recognize you because you have a bright green bandana. If you wear it on your head, you're playing. If it's not on your head, you're not playing. And,
okay.
I think if it's on your neck, you're a zombie. But that's how they differentiate you. So unless you're wearing that, they're gonna try to ignore you. But literally, I was just walking through one of the quads, and these kids were just shooting at each other, and he ran like right towards me to use me as a shield. I almost punched him and got thrown out, but yeah, no. So Humans vs. Zombies, once again, really cool that they can get so many students involved, and it's a great environment for people who like the social outcast type kids, get picked on and stuff in school. So like, don't get me wrong, like I took a class on J.R.R. Tolkien.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I literally took a Lord of the Rings class.
Nice. That's sweet.
It's just such a cool environment for that type of thing. So not gonna bash it 100%, but 100% some of the things I've seen.
Well, you said, I just brought that up because you said the nerd part, and that kind of made me think of it. I mean, I thought it was cool at the time, like because when I went there, I was like,
you
"Yo,
say,
this is
it's
pretty
get people
cool." These kids
involved,
running around.
yeah.
Well, RIT's got a great reputation. It's a good school,
Oh yeah, amazing school.
especially for like
yeah.
the sciences and applied sciences.
Well, I know
right?
like engineering, like that's
Yeah.
if you succeed there, you're gonna do really well.
Yeah, their computer programs, their technology
That too, yeah.
programs, all top notch. We'll not take that away from them, but you gotta go in like if you're expecting just a normal campus, you're not gonna get one.
So it's kind of interesting that you're on. We've been talking about having you on for a couple of weeks now, and this week it happened because Stephen Hawking just died.
Yep.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was.
You're a
Maybe
physicist.
the greatest, scientist of our time.
Well,
Yeah,
I would say he
he's
is.
probably one of the smartest people ever. Like I think
Yeah,
he's up there with like Newton, Einstein, and all
yeah.
those people.
No, his theories were really cool. I'm not like very well read through it, but he came up with the Big Bang theory, which
So I heard that because I know what string theory
Is that Is that his claim to fame? Really, the biggest one?
well,
Is
he
the
did
Big
a
Bang?
lot of work with black holes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he
didn't create the Big Bang theory,
No,
right?
well-
He just added to it.
Usually that's what happens. Somebody will have a theory, then other people will.
Disprove it.
Yeah, I can go into more detail about like what theories really are if you guys want to in a bit. I'll just cover up the Stephen Hawking thing because obviously that's really significant in our time because he really advanced like astrophysics by a lot with his work with black holes and that type of thing.
Do you know string theory at all?
I know the basic idea, but
yeah. I'm not talking like, can you code it for me?
No.
But I heard that he had something to do with string theory.
Yeah, I think he did too. Astrophysics and that weird thing, like all those like crazy abstract thoughts. That's something that I didn't like get really in depth to, because I was only going for my bachelor's. That's really usually like once you start like learning about that type of thing, it's either because you're genuinely super interested in it and you just like pick up a book and read it, or because you're like going for your PhD and you genuinely want to be like a physicist, like a theorist, and go for that stuff. But yeah, no, I'm pretty sure Stephen Hawking was involved with string theory a lot too. But I know like the biggest thing he did was his work with black holes.
Nice. What what specifically did he?
I'm pretty sure he
come
helped.
through with?
I'm pretty sure he helped start detecting them. Help us like figure out how to detect them, and then there's probably I think he did more stuff with like binary systems. That type. It's just he did a lot of things that go way over the top of my head.
Definitely goes over my head. I just know what the dude wasn't even supposed to live past like 14 because of his condition. Like we're literally not a muscle moves in his body. Like, but his brain, that big brain, just kept him alive. Like he was 76. Like,
Wasn't he like 20 when that happened to him? He was like in his 20s, I think, right? Or
Yeah,
something.
I'm pretty sure 1963 is when they gave him the 2-year time limit.
Oh, okay, the limit. I thought. Okay, I don't know where I thought. I thought when he was like 12 or something, he might have like been like when they thought stuff was starting.
Yeah,
maybe?
he was. It might have been his teens, but he was a very young man. I
Right.
knew
The point is, even in his 20s,
he
it's
wasn't
way too
born
young.
with this. I know that he had lived life as a quote unquote normal human being, and then had that. But I want to get back to what you're saying about theories. What do you mean?
All right, so I think that like with science, a lot of people have misconceptions about a lot of how it works. You see like a lot of celebrity scientists like Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about like space, and Bill Nye the Science Guy, and that stuff is all 100% wonderful and great, but I think it does lead to a lot of misconceptions about what a lot of science. Basically what happens is somebody's curious about something, or somebody pays somebody to figure something out, and then they post an article that's very, very specific. And then, for example, I did a lot of research with granular materials like sand, dust, that type of thing. So you could have one article that's specifically about like ibuprofen powders and how they flow through things. And then you get a bunch of different articles and studies done about that entire thing. And you start to notice like a pattern, laws, like equations, that type of thing. And that's how you form theories. Like one of the biggest ones I'm pretty sure everyone's familiar with is the theory of evolution.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you guys.
Wait. Never heard of it.
Zach's very religious. They didn't teach that in his textbook.
Oh, I'm
Jesus, Roman. We're not in any way making fun of people that are religious.
I don't
No,
mean
we're
to
just-
offend you with facts or anything.
Oh.
Now, that one might have been a shut up. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
But go
I like biology a lot, but keep going because you're on a roll.
Yeah.
Yep. So then, theory of evolution. Charles Darwin was one who added a lot to it and like conceptualized everything. Then he saw a lot of things on the different islands, same bird, same species, but they had different beaks, and he realized that the beaks, like over time, developed differently because on one island, one beak helped them get more food. If they could get more food, they could reproduce more. So
The skinny versus or the skinny and long beaks versus the short and the fat beaks.
Is this
Yeah.
the whole petri dish thing too? That plays into the. I'm trying to remember like biology.
there's like
now
that
and, like,
Punnett squares, right?
That's
The
it.
Punnett
Punnett
squares.
squares.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Punnett squares. That's a lot of
Genetics
genetics.
and all
But
We're not going to talk a whole lot about biology. It's definitely one of the softest of the hard sciences.
Shots fired.
No, I'm just kidding.
Shots fired.
A
just
chemist,
kidding.
a biologist, and a
No,
physicist
I
walk
like-
into a bar.
And the physicist's a dick.
No, I like exactly what you're saying. Like I've never really been a science person. Like in science classes growing up, I didn't do well.
Subject, yeah.
In high school, I mean, I did like earth science and physics. I didn't like bio and chem, but I like the theories. Like I like the evolution stuff. Like there was an article, a few months ago that Joe Rogan shared, and it was talking about. It was in the Washington Post or whatever, but how scientists now think that all canines, all dogs, I should say, came from one pack of wolves in like the Middle East 40,000 years ago.
It just evolved into like these different species.
Like
of
just
dogs,
one
like
family,
different
one
breeds,
pack of
breeds,
wolf.
yeah.
From that, every dog, whether it be a little terrier to a Great Dane to a pointer to whatever, they're all from that, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, and about blue eyes. I'm looking at some blue eyes right here. We
Yours,
came
yeah,
from
mine
the
are
same
crazy.
ancestor.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure.
I actually read something that eventually the blue eyes will be extinct just because of the way
because
statistically
they're
how it'll play out.
recessive.
Right.
So that means like if there's one person with brown eyes and the brown eye gene goes in, it's just so much less likely for blue eyes to keep going. But
Right.
evolution doesn't really.
We're original. We're special.
Yeah, I mean, again, we don't know how long it's going to be, but I did remember reading it. So
I heard
eventually, blue
eyes
eyes
might
will
be turning like
extinct.
red.
Maybe.
Like a little darker color, like reddish, I guess, in a couple hundred years. But
Does that
and
mean
they
redheads
think
are gone?
the average pigment
recessive?
is going to get darker. They think too. But no, there is an original Adam
Yeah.
from like 230,000 years ago, where they think all humans descend from that guy. And it's kind of crazy, but it makes sense that it has to come from one guy, right? Because all life came from one thing.
Does it have no? Here's the thing: does it have to be one? Like, are you saying like male? Could it be one female? Or does it matter? Does
I
it
don't
sure it's
know.
one
I mean,
male?
that's kind of the chicken and the egg question, right? I mean, which came first, male or female? I mean, I think you'd have to say female came first, right? Or I don't know.
But then again, how was? Well, yeah, that's true. Because it's like if it's a male, how did he reproduce to get the female? On the other side, how did the woman? Did she just like virgin birth? Like, how did that happen?
Well, I don't know. What is it? There's mitosis and meiosis,
Or is
right?
there two? Who knows? Yeah.
Meiosis. That's how I always remembered it. My teacher taught. Mitosis is like your toe grows. So mitosis is cell splitting. Meiosis is like
I'm pretty sure meiosis is when the
zygotes and shit.
zygotes and all that weird biology stuff.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not like familiar with it, but that would make sense because if you really think about it, all life came from one original like cell, basically that split, and then we like everything that's alive right now is related to each other.
Well, isn't that string theory? I mean, string theory is huge, but it's like different dimensions. It's the origins of life. I don't understand how they tie it all together.
Dude, everything I know about science comes from Rick and Morty at this point, so that's what I know. Shout out to Rick and Morty.
I'm probably one of the only people that studied science that doesn't like that show.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, obviously,
I don't like that show
it's
either.
ridiculous. I think it's hilarious. That's just why I watch it.
I
Not
don't
because
know.
I'm like, oh, dude, scientifically, this is so spot. No, like, obviously.
Yeah.
Like,
But I just don't. I don't know.
I just think it's fun.
I'm just a Scrooge like that. Like South Park, I really don't like South Park. I like
I
Family
never got
Guy,
into it.
but
I never got into it. South Park, Family Guy, a little bit. I never got into the other ones though, like the Cleveland Show or American Dad, like the
No,
other
me
Seth
neither.
MacFarlane shows. I don't know. Yeah.
So back to theories. What are some of your favorite physics theories?
100% theory, like Newton when he came up with his theory of gravitation. 100%. That, like, the more I learned about science and math, the more crazy it is to me that he was able to relate an apple falling on its head to like planets in the space. Like, it's so amazing to sit there and think that he was just like, there are these celestial bodies that are orbiting around the sun.
And he did this, we think, sober, right? Like, this dude wasn't just like,
Oh,
Apple, there's gotta be. There's gotta be.
I will 100% say Newton was probably high on something for the entirety of his life. He was one of the coolest scientists. I'm pretty sure he was like, I heard from one of my professors that he had a homosexual lover.
I remember hearing that too. Yeah.
2, he was like worked for banks to find counterfeit money and like arrest people, like solo operation type stuff.
Just did it himself.
An agent.
Like, we have pens now. He obviously didn't have them back then, so who knows how he was able to do it.
Yeah, he was responsible for modern day calculus, but didn't use it because it was too easy.
So I was gonna say, didn't he invent like the first
Shit,
couple
most
levels of
people don't
calculus or
say
something?
calculus is too easy.
Yeah, basically he combined derivatives and integrals and then linked them together. Like derivatives and integrals, they existed, but he was the one who was just like, oh, these are just opposite stuff. And
He was shunned by like the Catholic Church too. I mean, by that time, I think that England was already Protestant because he lived in the 1600s and that whole switch was in the early 1500s. But like,
Right, yeah.
I mean, you think about how much we know and how much there is still to know, but for how long we didn't know anything. Like we couldn't. Like we're just really.
How much we're going to
They
know,
just proved gravity, quote unquote, a year or two ago with the gravitational waves thing.
one of my friends actually worked on that.
Really?
Yeah, two of my friends, but one of them I didn't really care about. So, but no, she was like in the paper with all the professors that helped work with LIGO type stuff, and
That's crazy.
That's insane.
yep.
That's
But
crazy.
Shout out to
too.
Monica.
Well, and it just goes to show though, like how much we'll even learn in the future. Like we still don't know shit compared.
Like,
we don't even know like 80% of what's in our oceans, let alone.
Like this
You know
year,
what I mean? Like there's so much we don't know.
100 years ago, the flu was killing like 30 million people.
Yeah.
Like it's not doing that.
Although with
anymore.
that said, the flu has been killing some people this year.
Yeah,
The flu has been
but-
brutal.
Yeah, but yeah,
30
staph
million-
infection
yeah,
a couple
yeah.
years ago. Like
Right.
you always have these viruses, that do
That
kill
mutate,
people.
yeah.
But at least we understand it, and it's not like the
Right.
plague where they're like, oh,
Go to bed,
it's
sleep this
the
off.
rats. We're gonna kill the rats. No, it's the fleas from the rats, and then the fleas get on you, and they get on the dog and the cat, and it spreads.
Yeah.
But we've been around living in society, civilized humanity since 5,000-6,000 BC. So that's 7,000-8,000 years, and then the last 150, we've learned artificial light, germ theory. We can fly in fucking airplanes. Think about that. We can go from here to California in hours, where it used to take months to get there.
You can get to
And-
Hawaii in a day.
Yeah.
28, 3 hours. At least that's how
And
long
it's
it took me.
exponential because 150 years ago we couldn't do any of that stuff. But every 10, 15 years, like look at cell phones, your iPhone.
My one professor, and he always made a good point. He's like, these aren't cell phones anymore. First of all, don't call them cells. They're big as hell. But number two, they're computers. You have computers in your hand now, like smartphones. Unless you just really have a traditional flip phone, like these aren't even phones. They're just fucking computers in our hands. Which, like, how hard was it? How you had to go to like a place and there's one massive computer, and how expensive it was. It's just crazy how even technology's evolving.
Yeah, there's like a picture on this Instagram
That's
account that I follow
Welcome to put fastest.
from the 1950s of IBM bringing in like the first like computer, and it's like a 500 megabyte one, so nothing, and it's like as big as like from me to the TV away, and they're like using dollies to bring it in.
Yeah.
It's just this massive thing. And it's like my phone's got way more than that.
No, yeah, it's like you explain. It's like, yeah, you take a picture we have today, and it doesn't have enough hardware, or enough storage space to even fit a couple photos on there. It's like,
Yeah,
no.
this recording wouldn't fit on those.
No, God, no. be way too big of a file. It barely takes up all my storage on there. Like I'm trying to figure out a way because we haven't really been able to back them up because I just need bigger thumb drives. Like the one I have now, just you can't even take one video out of there.
How many gigs do you think that is? Couple.
I would have to look it up. It'll tell me on there.
I'll have to buy a sick floppy disk or something.
We'd have to buy something big with a lot of storage space, just so we have it at least backed up. Because one day this thing's gonna go.
Yeah, I want to have all these backed up.
Yeah.
So it could be 70-year-old men and sit there. And
anyway, so let me ask you this, because
ourselves.
I remember kind of learning about this in high school, but like, because obviously there's a difference between like theories and like laws, like what we know are true, but like how does a theory become, like how is it proven to be a law?
In physics specifically, laws are usually equations.
Okay.
So I think the one a lot of people know from physics is F equals ma.
Oh, okay.
Force equals mass times acceleration.
Yeah.
That's a law that is just like
Or like E equals MC squared.
Yep. That type of thing. Those are laws. Theories are basically how do I word this? Like the theory of gravitation, all that type of thing. Those are just after you get enough results and data, you can compile it all together and you can come up with a theory. And there's a lot of theories out there. There's one theory that says that the government is hiding three sides of time from us, and this is totally whack job thing. 100% not true.
Right.
The guy completely, because he thinks that
Sounds like some Doctor Who shit.
there are four sides to the Earth, right? You know, there's north, south, left, right. Okay. He thinks that we're only living in one side of the Earth at a time. So if we were able to tap into the other three sides of the Earth, we could have a 96-hour day.
What the hell?
This dude was taking some nice drugs.
I could, once I remember what the theory is called, I can show you guys the website so you can just be like blown out of your minds that somebody actually came up with this stuff. It's really gross.
So for it to become a law, then what? You just got to have other like scientists try to disprove your theory or prove it.
And then the biggest problem is the only way you would be able to disprove that theory is if you accept his what he thinks are his constraints, and you can't disprove his theory with his constraints. But that theory isn't actually
So then
true.
can you try and just disprove the constraints like that he's using with those parameters?
Yep. So then that theory isn't true. Like theory of evolution, for example, it's backed up by lots of data, lots of other theories that would coincide that we've seen, like the domestication.
Yeah, but it
Have
says
we called evolution though a lot? Like we don't say it's
theory
law,
of
right?
evolution.
It's just a theory still,
theory,
right? Because it's like.
But it says in a book that didn't happen.
That what? Oh, Jesus.
It says in a book. All right, that it took 6,000
Yeah,
years.
that's another theory that only
Those who
has
take
the
Wait,
book.
no, but it's in a book, so it's true.
No. Yeah, exactly.
It's true.
Yeah, it can be.
I want to see their sources. God.
I can talk about that real quick. I was working one day and I was walking through the mall and somebody came up to me while I was waiting for my drink to come out of the vending machine. While I was waiting there, unfortunately the vending machine was taking a while to process my card. He came up to me and he was just like talking to me, trying to like sending me creepy vibes, like this dude's part of a cult or something. I was close. As I was walking back to work, he was just like, what if I was telling you there's a seminar we could go to where we would try to use science to prove the existence of God? And I was not in a very good mood, so I told him that'd be really dumb. And then I kept on walking, and I was just like, listen, I got to go back to work. Can you leave me alone? And then he just stopped talking. But like he was like, there's an inherent problem with that. Science is about finding the natural laws of the world. Keyword right there is natural. Something like a god would be something supernatural.
Right.
You can't use anything natural to prove something supernatural.
Like argue that like the idea of science at all is man-made. It works. Obviously, it proves a lot of things. Nothing wrong with it. But like you're saying, that's supernatural versus
you can't prove the existence of something like that with the science we have right now. I don't know if that'll change in the future.
Yes, you can, because he was here. That's what I hate, dude. Is like I listen to these radio shows.
Yeah.
And I do really, cause it's usually like 99.7 or 99.9. And at night, sometimes they have like these preachers on there, and they're preaching, like, and they're just like and we know this is to be true because he was here, and he says stuff like that, and it's just like you
with
make
those type of
claims
people
and like
is a lot of them. First of all, I don't think they believe half the shit they say. They're already making a ton of money off of just really essentially being a performer. They're trying to profit off of, I hate to phrase it this way, but for lack of a better term, weaker-minded people that want to believe it. They want to exploit that.
yeah.
And if you notice, these dudes are like balling out in their life. Like
Yeah.
these donations.
You ever
that
seen
they're
like Jesse
getting,
Jackson or that dude?
like,
What's the
they
name of
are
the dude that
balling
just
out.
died? The preacher
Mansions.
the preacher that just died a couple weeks ago.
I don't know, but if you look at most of these guys, it's just like wow. Like, and I'm not talking like your like typical like preset like your local church, whether it's.
It just bothers
talking
me. Like if you want to try and prove
Yeah.
a statement, don't use another statement.
Yeah.
Like if you want to just prove exactly what you're saying, evidence and natural laws. Like don't try and prove a statement with another statement. Like
Those people, those ones though, I just think they're just trying to exploit. They're businessmen more than anything. They're performers. I don't consider them real preachers.
Al Sharpton and
Yeah, terrible.
One thing I did learn is there's a logic thing that they were trying to do. They were trying to prove the existence of God, but their proof for the existence of God was already based on the assumption that God already exists.
Right.
It was like God is perfect, exists, so God must exist. And it was something convoluted like that.
Like you're saying, the constraints were like you
Yeah.
have to accept
the
those.
things that get me is like the basic question of. So like I know the Catholic Church always compares like the relationship between God and a human as like a parent-child.
Mm-hmm.
You hear it all the time. You know, you are my children. You know, God is our father.
Right.
Mary is our mother. All that stuff. Like parents never, at least I don't know any normal parents I know. Like they never want to put their child in dangerous situations or situations that can harm themselves. So if that's true, like why, if God is our parent, or if He's a father-like creature and He only wants what's best for us, why would He put Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and why would He put that temptation there in front of them, knowing what they were going to do the entire time? Because if He is God, then He would have known what they were going to do, and if He knew what they were going to do and He loved them, why wouldn't He stop them from doing that?
Well, they would. Well, it's simple. They would say free will because He gave you free will.
But
That's
what I'm
their
saying
argument.
is like you're just.
I'm
throwing
just telling
jigs on-
you. I'm just telling you their
I
argument.
know,
I'm not
but-
saying I agree with it.
No, but
Yeah.
and I get that, but that's what I'm saying is you're just saying, oh, well, then you're using this theory to support that, and it's just
Right. No, I hear you. I'm just saying that's the argument. Well, no, He gave them free will and they chose to do it
But why even put the temptation there? Like you know what I mean? Like
because
that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying is like if a toddler keeps like okay, like if we have a 4-year-old out on the deck and they keep going to the edge of the deck because they want to get something and the parents tell them no, but they keep doing it. Eventually, when the parent's not there, what's going to happen? They're going to fall off the deck.
right.
You know what I mean? So
The only,
that's like
the, only,
kind of what I'm
the,
saying.
only, the only problem with that though is you're comparing, and at least when they made this choice from that understanding, I'm from the religious, playing devil's advocate here because you know how I think we actually share similar views about this stuff, but they were adults when they made that choice. So with that said, it's like you would say, quote unquote, they're sound-minded, logical people. That's a 4-year-old. Of course, it's not a sound-minded, logical entity. So you need to keep more eye on it.
But yes, but what I'm saying is like on the level, like
at least
we're
in their
his
case,
children.
they should know good and bad, and they chose bad. That's
Yeah.
what the religious would argue. Again, just being a devil.
No, yeah,
I see what you're saying.
And I'm combating those
Right.
to combat those.
Right.
Because if you liken the relationship to child parent,
Yeah.
then yeah, it doesn't have to be on the same playing field, but then it would be proportionate, right?
Could be. I mean, again, who knows? I mean, we're also again assuming that this would even be
Okay, all right. Well, I'll push that a step farther then. So I'll leave that. Okay, so if God loves you, why would He put you in a place where you can go burn in hell forever and get raped and get your eyes gouged out and be thrown in the fires and be tortured by Satan? If He really loves you, even though you did something wrong, like 98% of parents out there, even if their kids do something wrong, they still love them.
Yeah, of course. Doesn't mean He doesn't. Again, I don't know the answer.
Well,
to that.
that's
I'm
just my
saying,
questions that probe it. Yeah.
Who knows? Because then you'd have to even date it back, looking even further, right? Because why does Satan exist to begin with? He was once an angel that was cast out because of a fight. Like again, this is according to, I don't even know, does the Catholic Church even teach that? Or is that even predating them? Where is that? Oh yeah, that would be in the Bible, right? Genesis, I think. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I would just say that it would probably have to somehow come back to that there has to now be a good and a bad.
And it doesn't even make sense because if God created Satan, then He has power over him. You can evaporate
But
him
do
like
we
that.
know that He?
If God created everything, if He is the Alpha and the Omega, the end and the beginning,
That's
He created all the armies of all the legions of armies of angels. It doesn't.
Isn't that something that's so hard for me to get my mind around, though? Thinking that there's really never truly been like a beginning, like in the universe, like great time, like or an end. Like,
You
it's
try and
so
think of the
hard-
beginning.
I can't conceptualize it. Like
You
it's
try
so
and think of
hard.
the beginning as
My
a
brain
junction in time, and you try and but you're like, wait, there wasn't anything before that. How is that?
How is that possible? It's too hard. I guess maybe just because humans always have a beginning and an end. You're born, then you die.
Does the theoretical physicist have an opinion?
I have one opinion on time. I like to think of time as just another dimension, like length.
Okay.
So this right here and that right there, it just exists. But at another moment of time, it exists somewhere else. So how I like to imagine it is just time isn't linear like we think it is. It's just there. Each moment we perceive is just that one moment of time. So like this table has a length of that's like 1 foot, 1.0000000 foot, and it has 1 point. I'm sorry to everyone. I'm using English measurements, foot, and not meters and stuff like that.
We don't have too strong of an international following yet, so
Yeah. So I'm not going to worry
Sorry,
about it.
Canadians that might be pissed by this if they're watching.
And also scientific community.
Yeah,
Just
there
going
you
to
go.
apologize to all of you guys. I should know better, but it's too late and then too deep. And then 1.000000001 foot, and then it's just like those two exist right there, just like there's right now and then 0.0001 second. It already exists, but it hasn't existed for the past us.
So I guess that means that goes under like still the belief of like different realities, right? Like okay, right now we're talking, but we very well like in a different reality point that we could like knock that microphone over on act. You know what I mean? Like it just goes into that idea. There's infinite amount of possibilities that could be occurring like at any given time. It's just
I
we're
agree-
all
I agree with
at
that.
one point in a statistical like
There-
equation. Like we're just a matter of.
I was watching
Statistical
an
probability.
interview with John Oliver and Stephen Hawking today, and John Oliver asked him about his alternate universes, unlimited number, and he goes, "So if that's true, does that mean that I'm smarter than you in another universe?" And Stephen Hawking goes, "Yes." And John Oliver like played into the question. He's just like, "Am I actually funny in another universe?" And Stephen Hawking was like, "No, you're not."
Oh, I see, but Hawking was like of the belief that there's a ton of different.
He was open to it.
He was open.
He
to it,
was open
Yeah.
to it.
I mean, obviously, how do you prove
You
that
don't know,
unless you're
yeah.
able to prove that there's another reality simultaneously going on with this one? Like, and you can prove that we're both going on at the same time. Which, how do you do that? How do you do that? You know,
I practically I think they exist 100%. I don't. There's no way to interact with them.
right. And we're back after some technical difficulties. We're back again. This will be part 2, but we're gonna throw it in there anyway. We were talking about like theories, and we're just gonna go right into the next topic that we wanted to get into. What did you say you wanted to talk about, Zach?
Global warming. Wanted to hear a scientist's perspective. I wonder what it's going to be.
If you couldn't have guessed, climate change is a thing.
What?
Wait,
What? I was not expecting this.
No.
You did not prepare me for this.
No, yeah, climate change is a thing. I hate to break it to you. It is also there is man-made climate change, which is causing.
That was always one that was interesting to me. Like, people who don't understand what the debate was. It's like nobody was debating, like, Republican, Democrat, or whatever. Nobody was debating whether or not it was happening. It was just whether it was man-made or not. And then you have a lot of people that'd be like, I think it's a money grab. Who's getting money? Like, the government? Like, it's like, why would global warming not exist at all? It's like that wasn't the debate. But you think it is man-made.
Yeah, there is man-made climate change. Don't get me wrong, climate is a very, very complex system. But the idea of man-made global warming comes from greenhouse gases, greenhouse effect, which is actually a very good thing. It's why we're alive right now, the greenhouse effect. What the Earth should now be, like the average temperature on Earth, I think should be like 200 Kelvin, or like a really low temperature that we couldn't survive. 200 Kelvin's negative like 100 Fahrenheit.
Oh, okay. Wow, yeah, we'd be gone. Yeah, we'd freeze to death for sure.
It's probably actually more than that. But so the greenhouse effect, basically, light from the sun travels through space and it hits the Earth. Then it bounces back and bounces back and forth. It gets trapped in the atmosphere because there are gases that have the greenhouse effect. Carbon is one of the most talked about ones, but it's not the one that has the most effect. The biggest greenhouse gas is actually a very scary chemical, dihydrogen monoxide, commonly known as water.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, what? You just blew my fucking mind right there.
H2O?
I'm just kidding. It's not an actually dangerous thing. We use it to live.
Yeah.
Obviously, people drown, though. So,
Right.
yeah, no, water.
Too much of it'll kill you.
Yeah. But clouds, that's like the biggest effect of greenhouse gases, because the light bounces off the clouds both ways. It stops too much from coming in, and it keeps a lot from leaving. So basically, greenhouse effect is one of the biggest reasons the average temperature isn't below zero.
And to your point, like people are like, oh, it's a hoax. What do you mean? You can literally look at the recorded temperatures and just see that the last 3 years in a row, the ocean's been recorded the warmest it's ever been recorded.
Right.
The last 3 years in a row, it keeps breaking its own
Ice
record.
caps keep shrinking. Like we can prove this just by like measuring.
Miami, the
Get a
Jersey
fucking
Shore,
ruler out.
New Orleans, like these
Like
places.
you don't need
are
to be a
gonna-
crazy physicist to understand like that. You know, it's
and
simple.
like talk about like all the flooding that's gonna just in the U.S.
Yeah.
Can name you New Orleans, the Jersey Shore, Miami.
Well, I keep saying, yeah, this rate, like New Orleans, like cities in the East Coast, like Hawaii, like they all could be underwater.
It's not even there's countries in other places, or there's
Yeah,
cities
right.
in other
I'm just,
places
yeah,
too.
exactly.
Yeah.
Just listen to the U.S.
Yeah, no, we've already gone past one of the points that the scientific community is like, don't go past this point. We've already gone past that. An average global temperature increase of 2 degrees Celsius does not seem like that much because, like, oh, it's 2 degrees Celsius warmer. It's like 6 degrees Fahrenheit warmer. Who cares?
Right.
You got to think, like, that's the average temperature. So the average temperature could be like 0 degrees Celsius, closer to the ice caps. It just went up 2 degrees. All of the ice there is done. It's melted. And then permafrost is another big thing. I think that's like Norway area, that
Canada.
like northern Europe,
North
northern
Canada,
near Alaska. There's a lot of permafrost there. That melting is causing swamps, which is just releasing stupid amounts of carbon in the atmosphere. And this all seems absolutely catastrophic, like end of the world stuff. But truth be told, it's just going to make living harder in a lot of places and more expensive.
Yeah.
And a little bit more dangerous too, like California, the forest fires. If it's more dry there because it's hotter,
Right.
you'll have bigger forest fires.
And we're seeing that last year they had a shit ton of those.
Was the biggest one wasn't like the biggest one this year. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Longest burning one. One of them.
Something devastating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Super devastating.
And a lot of people think
What
that
did I say? There was one that like it was going like the fire was spreading at like 300 yards per second. Like that's
Yeah, something
insane.
scary.
Like like super.
I just
like
don't
3
get
football
why
fields in a
people
second.
don't want to believe this is true. Like, in my opinion, there really wasn't a debate. There was a debate on it, but it really wasn't a debate until Trump backed the whole "this is a hoax" thing invented by the Chinese.
Reckoning out of
And ever since then, in America, it's been this big kickback, and it's just like, what's the kickback about? I don't
There's
get it.
kickback even like when Gore was running for president.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, maybe
he
it's
was overselling it though. He was making it seem like we were all just gonna blow up because of the global warming.
Right, he was trying to get
Y2K.
himself into president at the
Yep,
same
and-
time. Like he wanted to be president, and he won the popular
he
vote.
did exactly what Trump did, just using different means.
Right, the other way.
He went the other way.
Yeah, no, but the most annoying thing about climate change is the only people who are really arguing about it are politicians, not scientists. No, like there are
97% of scientists say it's real.
Yep, and
The
then
other
the
three
other
are drunk.
Yep, and then the rest of the people that sign petitions that say it's not true are not actual scientists. Like they're literally just they're not at all. It's
You're not a
disgusting.
real scientist.
So
Well,
it's like,
what
can
makes
they,
you a
can they make it like a
scientist?
law at this point? Like, and by that I mean like because is it like a theory of climate change? Or it's like this is a law. Like it's definitely happening right
Well, I
now.
feel like for it to
I'm
be
not
a
saying
law, it's
getting
going to
to
have to be
rings.
way too late for us to save anything.
That's fair.
By that time.
The greenhouse effect is a theory, and right now, like climate change is just an effect of us messing with the greenhouse effect.
Yeah.
So
So what's the solution then? Produce less greenhouse.
the
like
biggest, the
CO2
first, the
emissions?
first thing we should do is cut back on emissions. We should not invest in coal.
Right.
The idea of clean coal is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. just sorry. Sorry, Donald.
Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, Donald Trump. I know I'm not an expert, but you don't have to be one.
Not trying to call you out.
No, but yeah, the idea of clean coal is the dumbest thing in the entire world. Why aren't we investing in more solar stuff like they are up in Tesla? Like,
Yeah,
Tesla's doing great work up in Buffalo. Big shout out to you, Elon Musk. Keep that stuff up. But yeah, no, reducing carbon.
Also trying to put someone in space on Mars, right? That's what Musk is also trying to do.
Yeah,
right?
that's so
Side
cool.
note, yeah, that is pretty sweet.
That's so cool.
Although he has kind of saying like these people are probably gonna die because it's the first people that we're gonna try to send to Mars. But hey,
It's like the first people you sent to America 600 years ago.
yeah.
Like, we're probably never going to see these people again. But
But hey,
good
you know
luck.
what you're
Good
doing
luck.
this for. You were saying anyway, Elon Musk.
Yeah, Elon Musk, great dude, trying to bring like the Tesla that they're doing with electric cars, the solar panels, that project they're doing in Buffalo. We need more stuff like that. Like, and people complaining about windmills being noisy.
Yeah, come on, yeah.
Dude, really? That's your complaint?
Or even
like,
hydropower because that's not bad either, right?
Like,
whatever it means.
who would complain about hydropower? Like,
Right.
Apparently, France has a really good nuclear program, and they found a really good way to dispose of it, where like the damage that would be done is like minimized by like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of a percent.
yeah, no, per kilogram of like nuclear, like per energy watt hour.
Yeah.
Nuclear power generates like thousands of times more than like something like
In like a bunch of
gas.
different places, it's all different. Like I know in Sweden or Norway, I forgot which one, but like one of them has like a bunch of like caves and like mountains. So they got a bunch of like underwater rivers.
Yep.
So they use a lot of hydroelectricity. Whereas like Iceland uses a lot of geothermal stuff because they're sitting on a volcano. France kind of does its own thing with the nuclear. But it's like, you know, and I understand America's huge. There's different parts. Like obviously a windmill is going to probably work better in Texas and Kansas than it would be.
Like the Midwest, where there's like a lot
Yeah,
of like
like there's
open
different
space to
parts.
do, yeah.
And like, yeah, solar would work here, but it would obviously work better in Arizona and Florida. But like,
Right.
even if we have to specialize by location, like, you know,
Right. Well, because even the counters and then Niagara Falls produces a ton of hydropower that could power stuff
Yeah.
around. Like, you know, what I mean, we could rely on that.
people
more.
always say like, oh, if we ever get nuked, we're here in Western New York, we're safe. It's just like, well, if they're smart, they'd go after Niagara Falls because it powers literally the whole Northeast.
Yeah, no, like one thing I will say too though is just like cost wise over the long term, even if climate change, global warming doesn't have as big of an impact as we do, just like a risk cost based thing, you would save so much money by investing in green energy right now. Just in the long term, like just from a money perspective.
I
Yeah.
can tell you, even from a tax perspective, like I dealt with a return the other day where this woman bought like more environmental friendly like windows and stuff. Like just I don't know like what the effect was. All I know is it saved you like it was like worth like $5,000 in a credit that comes off your taxes. Like it's like you do get credited for that if it's proven that it like fits the criteria of what they're looking for. So even from that perspective, it's like an incentivized thing for taxes.
I'm talking like big time like cost money, like Wall Street investment.
Well, my dad wants to put solar panels on the house because I guess if you buy them, like they pay themselves off and then you make money on them after a few years. So like he would just be making.
You would be doing absolutely nothing, and you would just be making money. It's just a long-term investment. Like I think the biggest thing is people, one, are stupid. Two, don't want to do anything different because they're stupid.
The creatures.
Well, yeah, and people don't like to change. They like their set ways and
my
don't want to
God.
change, even if it could benefit. You know what I mean? It's just the idea of the unknown freaks people out. But
creatures.
yeah,
Yep.
creatures of habit.
But I mean, I'm sounding a little bit like pompous right now, calling people stupid that I don't even know like their situation and everything. But so apologize for that. But
Don't be stupid.
don't be stupid.
Don't be stupid. No, you're good,
I'm
man.
sorry
That's
calling
why
you stupid, but please, just don't be stupid.
it's kind of something that we've got, not on here, but in our personal lives, I guess. Like some people, like yeah, we're all equal, and like in the grand scheme of things, all of our ideas are equal. But like some people are better at other things than others, and some people are smarter than others. And some people are more athletic than others, but let's just stick with the smart avenue. Like, if you say something and someone gets offended, like, whose problem is that? Like, I understand, like, there's some things where it's over the line, but, like, if you say something and you're just stating facts or, you know, like, you're making an assertion based on your individual experience, like, how
like,
far...
We're all equal in the sense that we should all be equal with, like, rights and, like, living, like, in that sense.
opportunities.
But, exactly. But in the sense of, like, strength, athleticism, intelligence. No, we're not all equal. That's ridiculous to even think that. It's like, I can't do shit that LeBron James can do. Flat out. No chance. I can't think of things that Stephen Hawking or Newton thought. No chance. But, it's just, that's just how it is. Does that mean we should, our rights should still be the same as human beings? Absolutely. But let's be real here. If you're not as smart as somebody else, like, I don't care if you're offended. Like,
but that's what I'm saying is what I'm getting at is, like, if you're having a conversation with somebody that you went to school with or you grew up with or you work with,
right,
and you're getting into stuff and you say something that you know is true, and that person gets all offended and upset, like, who is it on? Because, like, if they get upset and cry, like, oh, you're so pompous and all this other stuff, you say, every time I say something, you always have an answer for it. But sometimes, like, you really do know those things.
Yeah, well, to me, it's like if you actually have the answer and it's a legitimate one. I think it's more how it's presented, because that's how people get offended to me. In that sense, you know what I mean? Like, it might just be how the way it's presented. But again, if you truly look at it and you're not like you're presenting it in a way and they're not like in a way that you think it's attacking, like, then it's that person's fault. You know what I mean?
No, the tone thing's huge.
Yeah,
the tone thing's huge. But sometimes, even if you're just trying to have a conversation and explain things, people just get turned off by it. And
I would say that is a sign of closed-mindedness and a lack of intelligence. I think you definitely need to. Everybody should be open-minded. Well, you would hope everybody would be, but obviously there's many closed-minded people. Hence why you have like horrific organizations like the Ku Klux Klan that exist, like, superiority like groups. You know what I mean? Like, obviously that's just closed-minded. Anybody though who's closed-minded, like, we got to be open to the idea we're not right about everything. We're human beings. That's our nature. We're going to be wrong. So there's stuff that I believe full-heartedly right now. That doesn't mean I'm right. But I think that kind of goes back to the point of science. Like, use evidence, use fact, and use that to base your judgments on. Don't come to conclusions on stuff that we don't know, have concrete evidence of.
And things like gravity, we have,
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
But some things you don't have that evidence.
That's why it's so stupid to me. Like, why anybody could argue that global warming doesn't exist at all. It's like, we have so much evidence, like overwhelming evidence that suggests it does. The argument was, is it man-made or not? And even then, I would say it's pretty stupid to even argue that it's not man-made. Like, we have overwhelming evidence there, but you could at least. I won't think you're a total moron if you come at me with that. I will think you're a moron if you tell me that. It's like, I can't even have a conversation with you because you just aren't. You're not opening your mind to, like, obvious facts that are going on. Like, obvious. Like breathing. Like, it's so obvious. But
is it obvious? Is it obvious yet? Foaming at the mouth.
But so what I was trying to remember. You said your favorite theory was because were we talking about that earlier? What did you say was your favorite? Gravity.
Because it's just. It was.
Is it just the way he discovered it that made it your favorite, or just the concept of gravity itself?
The way he discovered it and the concept, and just that, like, he didn't necessarily discover gravity. Everyone knew that when things fell, they fell down.
Right.
He was the one who was just sitting there thinking, why do planets orbit the sun? He was sitting there thinking, why are they orbiting the sun? And then
it was Galileo, right, that was able to prove it wasn't around
heliocentric.
Wasn't that Copernicus?
Copernicus, Galileo, they both did work with the heliocentric universe, but I'm pretty sure
it went back to the Greeks. It went back to the Greeks.
Had the idea, and then
because I know Galileo was also like put under house arrest by the church.
He was, and Copernicus, I'm pretty sure was excommunicated.
Yeah, and then Jesus did his thing, and the church did their thing, and a lot of science ideas were unfortunately lost because they contradicted the.
They tortured people
views.
for hundreds of years, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's my forte, medieval shit. But like those Greeks, like some of the ancient Egyptians and Greeks, like how they figured this shit out is crazy. Like the Greek guy, it was like within like 100 meters or something, like something crazy. Mm-hmm. But he analyzed the Earth, and he said like what its circumference was, like to a stupid degree. And how he did it was, he waited for the sun to be directly overhead where he was, and then he had someone standing in a ditch like 1.2 miles away, whatever the measurement was, and somehow based on the angle of the sun hitting the water, he could figure out the distance, and thereby and if you did that with the angle, like you could figure out how big the Earth was. And this dude did it like to a ridiculous degree of like 94% accuracy.
Wow.
Yeah,
3,000 years ago, using fucking sticks and
Using mathematics.
yeah.
Really though, the more you learn about what they discovered back then, the cooler it gets. Like, I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about how complex that mathematical idea must have been to be like, all right, we're gonna figure out angles, we're gonna measure the distance to the sun, we're gonna use all this stuff, triangles are great, we're gonna figure this out. And it's just, there's just so, like, really though, the more I learned from physics, the more respect I had for like the big name scientists that did stuff, and even the no name scientists that did things. And just like,
You're taking a chance.
yeah,
Like, you're taking a chance. Like Galileo, dude, mad people probably laughed at him.
mm-hmm.
Mad people were like, wow, what a fucking idiot. And now today, we're like, wow.
How
Dude was
smart
on.
we were, genius.
Yeah.
Dude
Ahead of
was
his time.
on.
What we would say, like the expression goes ahead of your time, because like everybody disagrees, and then you're like, oh no, that was insane. How much you like changed how we think of, like, game changer in the science community and what we know of the world. Although there still are people that believe the Earth is flat, so who knows?
Well, I mean,
There's always those people.
it is. Okay, like seriously though, have you pour water on a round surface, right? The water falls off the surface.
Right.
Pour water on a flat surface,
It stays
on the flat surface. I'm telling you.
Right. Gravity doesn't apply here, guys. To
Flat Earth is proven. It's not actually proven. If you believe that, you're stupid.
You gotta stop calling people stupid, dude. We're not gonna have any viewers.
Oh crap, you're right.
No, I'm just
No,
kidding. Call them all
it's-
stupid.
It's just
Yeah.
like there's conspiracies that have like legitimate like evidence that you can go off of and be like, okay, maybe, like, we've done one on JFK, and there's like, okay, there's some stuff there that you can follow and be like, okay, something's not right about
The
like,
Vegas shooting's kind of weird.
that one has some 9/11 has some weird like inconsistencies. Like all of these things do. Flat Earth is not one of them. You just want to look for something. Right?
You're
You're trying to find.
No
something.
offense, Father. I think you'd be spinning your wheels with me. You should take part in the
Quote
sacrament.
the great wedding crashers. Yeah.
If you had any basic understanding of how gravity works, you would not be able to accept the idea of a flat Earth.
No.
It's
And that was
triangle.
okay when they did, just because what they didn't really truly get. Well, even then they would understand gravity, right? Because Newton was before it. When was Newton around?
1600.
Oh, okay. No, then they didn't understand. Like gravity wasn't proven yet.
Once again,
I mean, people back then, even before that, they're like, that's a common misconception. Like, a lot of people in the Middle Ages, like, especially scholars, like, did think that the Earth was round.
Yeah.
Then
Like, that's a
Church
common
probably
misconception.
did the thing.
Yeah.
Not today, man. 2018. There's a lot of people that think the Earth is flat, which is
hey,
ridiculous.
what's old is new again.
Yeah, bring it back. There you go. Bringing it back. Everything
Oh,
seems to
God.
always make a comeback.
We're so
including
We
the flat
know
Earth.
the answer. It's just freaky, like, studying history. Like, you know the answers of the questions of the people of the past,
Mm-hmm.
but you'll never have your questions answered.
No.
But, like, we can answer other questions for them.
Yeah, unless somehow who knows? I mean, unless there are different levels of consciousness, and we just like you know what I mean, that you just can't prove.
Well,
disprove,
I
quote,
think this
unquote.
is a kind of a passing consciousness. Like,
This is a
the
form
last
of
100
consciousness.
years,
I
like
agree
the
with
last
that.
150 years, like, we've really elevated our shit. And there's a lot of bad things,
Mhm.
but like there's a lot of good things that have been going on. And I wonder, is that a change in consciousness? Because if you look at it, like, life from like we'll say the Black Plague to like the 1700 really wasn't that different. But then you take like 1700 to 1800, completely different. 1800 to 1900, completely different. 1900 to 2000, completely different.
2000 to 2018.
Completely different.
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Think
Like,
about when we were growing up. Even this is just something super minor, like but it even shows like technology. Like now you can like watch Netflix and live stream, watch movies, and have a whole library of it. We had VHS tapes.
Yeah, do you guys remember when DVDs were like first came out?
Oh, like
Yeah.
Blu-ray was a huge deal. Like, oh, you got a
Blu-ray.
Blu-ray player, dude? That's such a good movie.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
Blu-ray.
now
Look
you're
at
just
that
like,
picture.
dude, like that picture doesn't look nearly as good as
if
like
it's not
what
Blu-ray,
today.
if it's anything less than Blu-ray, it's not watchable anymore.
Yeah, no. Like I was watching on my friend's TV, like they have oh no, what were we doing? We were putting it on like just a Sony. It's not even like that good by today's standards, but like a 40-inch TV. But we put a PS2 up to it, and I was playing Tiger Woods 08. And I was looking, I'm like, these graphics are awful. Like just how terrible it looked. Like even on the nice TV, it was just like no. But even then, like watch Rugrats. Like I don't know, because they have a kid and she was watching, Rugrats, and it's just like wow, how. But that's what it looked normal to us back then. Just it's funny how everything changes. How much better like the picture goes.
All
like,
things
even
must
just-
pass.
Yeah. Insane, but
That was one of the sayings we used to have. What was the other one? Oh, you hated time is money.
Time is money.
You hated that.
Yep.
You weren't you gonna get a tattoo of
I
like a
was.
clock,
That
wrist
was
handcuffed to?
That was like the most political, stupid, like societal, like that was my angst years. Those were my angst.
We used to
years.
have some talks
Yes, we did.
in the.
Why- so
I'm
why do
pretty
you
sure
hate
one
time
day
is
we were
money?
like talking about Hitler and saying how he was just an idealist. And I think Maya mistook what we were saying
Yeah, no,
as like
she probably
Hitler
was
was
like,
cool.
oh, the-
And we were like, no,
No,
that's
no,
not
no.
what we were saying.
No, that was he,
pretty fucked up what he did. Yeah, but he was an idealist. I mean,
yeah.
horrible ideal, but nonetheless an
And
idealist.
also he's an amazing leader.
Yeah.
Still an asshole. He killed
Right.
a bunch of people. Fucking dick.
It's like, yeah, no one's trying to justify like what he did. Like even to quote other movies, but like it does apply here. Just like did horrible things. Like they were great things in the sense like how grand what he really did accomplish. They were horrific, but great in the sense that like no one else accomplished something that grand scale of a genocide necessarily. Like, it was horrible.
But that's a lot
I mean,
of
it was terrible.
ability
He
to
killed
do what he
people.
did. Like, dude,
Killed
that
12
dude
million
rose
people.
up from being a nobody to
Fighting
literally
World War
almost
I.
conquering the world. Let's be real. Like, if he would have played his shit a little cooler
Yeah.
with
Didn't try
Russia
and
and
fight a
Britain,
two-front
Yeah.
war. Yeah.
yeah, he very well could. Okay, well, at the very least, let's give him credit for what he did do. Completely took over the state of Germany. Completely took it from its down years after World War I to being probably the strongest
Yeah.
single country in the world, economically and,
And again,
militarily.
It was accomplished through horrific means, and nonetheless, because I want to be very clear, the Spot Podcast does not endorse.
Well,
anything Hitler
after
did.
he took power, I
Right,
mean,
right,
yeah,
right,
he
right.
did try and take control
he
of the
did some-
government, and he failed.
He did some shit.
And he
Right.
did
Yeah.
burn shit down, and he did
Well, yeah,
kill
that's where he wrote
people.
his
Yeah,
Mein Kampf, right? After
When
he got
he was in
arrested.
jail, yeah.
When he
and
tried.
he did
to,
do the Reichstag fire.
Yeah.
Well, they never proved who did it, but I.
Come on. Yeah.
do they need to prove it at this point? Yeah. Once again, we do not think Hitler was a good
No,
person.
I want to make this very, very clear. We are not,
We were talking about killing people the
anti-Jews.
first time,
Yeah.
our first episode, and
Oh,
he
yeah.
had. Did you hear that?
We are not anti-Semitists here at the Spot. All right, love a lot of friends, that I know are Jewish. I believe equality, for all people, whatever. But what he did accomplish was like crazy, and it's crazy to think about like how we don't want that repeat of performance. You know what I mean? Like never let a crazy man, gain so much power. Which brings me to thinking another thing. You hear about what is it? Isn't Un meeting with Trump soon? Kim Jong Un. Speaking of crazy
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
could probably go bad. I think they're both not right in the head.
Yeah.
That's. But I mean, I guess. Oh God. See, like, I deal with numbers and equations and stuff. I don't know, like if I was a poli-sci major, I'd probably be like, oh yeah, no, this is credible. But it's also absolutely terrible. I think nuclear weapons are stupid.
Isn't it? And I thought I heard this. I'm trying to remember because obviously Einstein was. It was in his time that the atomic bomb was created.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you helped work on it. Yeah.
Right, but I remember hearing that. But they kind of tried to keep him away from like what the end goal was with it, right? The science behind
no,
it, because they're like he was obviously did not want.
And he wrote a letter. Or no, was it
Because he's
him or
understanding
Oppenheimer?
like what
that
he
wrote
is
the letter?
figuring out is going to change the landscape of the world forever.
I think
War
he
forever.
wrote a letter after saying that he regretted it. He regretted helping it because
Yeah.
I don't think they could have done it without him. I mean, they could have, but I think it was going to take years longer. Like they couldn't have done it in that time without him.
And obviously, the atomic bomb still is what the most powerful bomb ever used in war, if I remember.
In war, yes.
Obviously not.
They have the
created. We
hydrogen
way
bomb.
more.
They have the hydrogen bomb now. Well, they
We
had
did
that in
something more
51,
powerful than
52.
The hydrogen bomb now, I think. Right?
Really?
I think so.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure
We
we
probably got a
evolved
laser.
even past that.
We got the Death Star that can blow up fucking Alderaan.
we could just blow up. countries at
Alderaan's
will.
not far away.
But like, obviously, I'm talking like that was easy. Obviously, the hydrogen bomb they found was like way more.
What did
powerful than
what
an
did
atomic
Oppenheimer
bomb.
say after the first atomic bomb was launched? Well, not launched, but after it was tested, and he saw what it could do.
He was probably I don't.
Three-word phrase. I am death.
I am death.
I am death. That's what he said when he saw the bomb.
I don't know if
go
this is true, but they keep crediting this quote to Einstein, and whatever it's true, where he would make sense. Or I don't know what World War III is going to be fought with, but I know World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones because he was suggesting that nuclear war is going to take over.
No, it's an actual quote.
Okay, but I know it's a quote. I thought it was credited to Einstein. I don't know if he actually said that. It would make sense for him to say that.
I don't know if it was Einstein, but it was someone like that. Yeah. Someone in that circle absolutely said that.
Which, that is scary, right? Mutually assured destruction.
No, that's such a it's such a terrible way to maintain peace. But there's a lot of things you can't trust.
But what does that say about humanity and how removed we are from our animalistic shit? Like what I'm just talking about, like with the Industrial Revolution in the last 300 years. It's the same thing with war. We had World War I 100 years ago. We had World War II 70 years ago. Like the Cold War, that was the whole mutual destruction thing. Like, we're not far removed at all. We're still violent. Like you can break it down however you want. Oh. Sure, some radical like Muslims want to kill us, but like we still have a tendency. Like you go anywhere in this country, and there's a lot of people say, "Yeah, just fucking bomb them, just nuke them, make them a parking lot."
Yeah,
I don't know why I said that with an Irish accent.
Happy St. Patty's Day, you know.
Is it? But
I actually forgot. By the way, sorry.
Fuck St. Patty. Fuck you, Connor.
That's green, right? You're the only one wearing
Fuck
green.
you, Connor.
Yeah, accident.
Worked out. But yeah, no, that is insane that people are like, it's like these are human beings we're talking about. Like, why would you, like, even if it's like war, like, don't try and decimate a whole culture of people. Like, especially because it's like not all of them want us dead. Like, why do we want to just slaughter?
Stupid people. Well, it's stupid people, but it's just, I'm sorry to say, man, in my opinion, it's just people that are just left back. And people always, exactly what you say all the time, too. Like, people are always like, oh, the good old days. It's just like, what good old days? Like, we're meant to progress. Like, you're never what you were yesterday.
I don't know why anyone would think good old days in anything.
Well, that's what he was trying to get with, like, at least in the case of Trump with the whole "Make America Great Again." It's like, what was considered a good time? I asked a friend that who was a pro-Trump supporter, and I don't usually like talking about politics because to me it's like one of those things that just it never gets anywhere. But this person seemed open-minded, and they're like, okay. So I asked them, what's the good old days? What time period you talk about that was "Make America Great Again"? Oh, the post like war, World War II, like 40s, like 50s. I'm like, so if you're a black person, that's a horrible time. That's pre-civil rights. So we want to go back to then because we're seeing that even spark up again. I'm like, is that what you want? Yeah, if you're a white male, sure, that was great. That was a great time. You know what I mean? Economically, we might have been thriving a little bit, but it's like you got to look at it's all through whatever scope you're looking through. Like, yeah, you and me, we're two white guys. We would have been fine back then. We would have been fine. Mm-hmm. About black dudes, black women, no, you would have been oppressed if you would have saw suffering. So what time period are we really talking about? You want to talk about again the 60s civil rights? You want to talk about like the Vietnam times? Those were horrible times. It's just like every era has gone through its bad stretch.
It has good and bad.
You're just using selective. Yeah. Looking through this through a selective lens. You just want to see the good and not see anything.
No, it's
bad.
just an emotional response because they appeal to this understanding of what they're taught. So that's why a lot of people nationalism and religion are very similar. People just make statements based on very emotional subjects. People dying, their family members, people going to war, what's right and wrong. What is right and wrong? Because you know what I mean? Like, it's just it's subjective, which is all this stuff ever is. Was there any burning desire that you wanted to talk about?
Biggest one was science and politics and just science. Like,
that they should really be kept separate, honestly.
Yeah, no, if just...
Or at least if politics is going to be used, use it in a way that's that supports like science. Science is the point of science is to be objective, right? Like that's how you come to these conclusions.
Yeah, no, that's just I think everyone is like inherently a scientist because I mean think about it. You're born and you cry, and then you like learn things as you grow older. That's science. You learn trial and error. But
well, I mean, isn't science in the most basic sense? Using sticks to dig shit or using sticks to pull meat off bones, right? I mean, that's what we do. We learn how to apply shit to get our ends.
I think the video's about to kick out. So we're going to wrap it up here, guys. Thank you, Ryan. It was a lot of fun. Learned a lot. But episode, 11 or 12 this is going to be, so...
We could say 11B. I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
11B, something.
Hopefully you guys learned something like we did. A lot of fun. Love to have you on again in the future, man.
I'd love to be on. I really appreciate it. Hopefully I didn't, that was fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're offended, screw you. All right.
If
Goodbye.
If you're offended, don't watch. Bye.
See ya.